Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something that sounds so simple on the surface. Do your job.
hmm
We hear it all the time from people like, Coach Bill Belichick. But what does it actually mean? It's got to be more than just blocking a gap on the football field.
Oh, it's way more. And that's what's so profound. It connects this very modern sort of efficiency-focused idea
Hmm.
right back to, well, to ancient philosophy.
So it's not about your 9 to 5.
Not primarily, no. When you dig into the sources, the command to do your job is really about defining the primary task of being a human being. It's pure stoicism, really.
Okay, so the mission for this deep dive is to give you a kind of blueprint for that job. We've looked at the sources and distilled it all down to 3 core principles.
3 fundamental steps.
Right. First, seeing the world clearly. Second, accepting what is. And third, embracing the need to begin again. So let's start with clarity.
Okay, so if we're talking about doing our job, the very first thing we need is intellectual honesty. But there's a huge obstacle, which thinkers like Robert Greene identify.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. We don't really want the truth. We want to be right. We're just seduced by what we already believe.
It's amazing, isn't it? The sheer amount of effort we put into defending our own little intellectual turf.
Oh, yeah.
If I believe something, I'm not out there looking for what disproves it. I'm looking for the 10 articles, the 5 quotes that just,
Yeah.
confirm my comfortable viewpoint.
And that's exactly where the cycle of ignorance starts. We build this echo chamber that feels really good, really safe, but it makes us incredibly brittle. If the sources teach us anything, it's that seeking comfort is, well, it's lethal to learning.
Which brings us to a better definition of intelligence, one that's critical for doing your job well.
Cool.
F. Scott Fitzgerald had that famous line.
Yes. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in your mind at the same time and still be able to function.
And still function. That's the key part.
That is the ultimate defense against confirmation bias. If you can't hold that tension between 2 conflicting but, plausible ideas.
Like, say, investing advice.
Perfect example. One person says, be aggressive for the long term. Another warns about a volatile market right now. If you can't hold both, you just collapse into certainty.
And the moment you're served.
You stop thinking. You
Yep.
start defending. Emotionally.
But doesn't that create a kind of analysis paralysis? I mean, how do you hold 2 opposing ideas without just getting frozen?
Well, that's the work, isn't it? The difference is between thinking and defending. Thinking means you let the tension exist while you gather more information. Defending means you shut down new information to feel stable.
So doing your job means you're always thinking, always refining.
Always. And this leads right into a really crucial distinction the sources make. The difference between a philosophologist and a philosopher.
I love this contrast.
Me too. The philosophologist, they study philosophy. They're the academic. They collect ideas like stamps. They can quote all the Stoic texts.
Name all the data.
All the data. But the philosopher, the one who's actually doing the job, lives the discipline.
So the philosophologist reads about courage, but the philosopher goes out and actually tries something that terrifies them.
Exactly. It's the difference between reading about a difficult conversation and actually having that conversation, when your hands are shaking and your voice is tight.
The philosophologist knows the definition of integrity, but the philosopher acts with integrity when no one is watching.
That's it. So the real cure for the bias that clouds our vision is this really uncomfortable discipline of actively looking for evidence that disproves what you cherish most
Willing to be wrong today.
so that you can be right tomorrow. That's true science.
That is a huge requirement. Okay, so if seeing clearly is step 1, then step 2 is about shifting our focus. Let's talk about what the sources call the tyranny of comparison.
This might be the single biggest energy drain in modern life. The Stoics really understood this.
How?
They knew that comparing ourselves to other people, their money, their status, even how long they live, is just corrosive because it distracts from what you actually control.
There is that great Marcus Aurelius quote.
Yes, we are all like pellets of incense falling on the same altar. Some collapse sooner, others later, but it makes no difference.
That is so liberating, but also kind of unsettling, right? It just strips away all the self-importance we attach to these superficial things.
It does.
We spend years trying to catch up to the person with the bigger house, the better title, and on a cosmic scale, it's all infinitesimal.
Whether you collapse 5 minutes sooner or later on the altar, the end is the same.
Which is why Jim Collins, he didn't pull any punches with it.
No, he called comparison the primary sin of modern life. A sin.
Why a sin, though?
Because when you're looking outward to compare, You violate the integrity of your own work. You stop caring about the quality of what you're doing and start obsessing over how it's perceived next to someone else.
So the instruction is what? Forget comparison completely.
And focus only on the quality of your own job. There's that wonderful analogy in the sources about the ancient sculptors.
Right, the statues.
Yes, the idea is
Yeah.
make the backs of the statues, the parts nobody will ever see, just as good as the front.
Because the measure of your work isn't the audience's applause.
It's your own internal standard.
Yeah.
And that changes everything.
To do that, you have to shift your perception from the eye to the heart, as the sources put it.
Exactly. The eye sees surfaces, it compares. Who's richer, who's faster. The heart, though, the heart perceives integrity, courage, connection, love.
And when you start seeing that way, with the heart,
You recognize our shared humanity, that idea that we're all fundamentally connected, somos familia, that becomes the bedrock, especially for how you deal with grievances.
because if we're family, then the job includes forgiveness, which is easy to see as a soft virtue, but it's not, is it?
Not at all. The sources frame it as a fierce strength. Gandhi made it so clear.
What did he say?
Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. It takes zero strength to hold a grudge or to keep a list of wrongs. The weak hold on to resentment. The strong, they do their job. They let it go and move forward.
And that idea, moving forward, releasing baggage, whether it's our own failures or someone else's, that brings us perfectly to the third principle.
The gift of beginning again.
Yeah.
This is such a profound paradox of time. The Stoics were clear. Every day that passes is dead. It's gone forever.
And at the same time,
Every single morning offers a complete 100% fresh start.
the sources use that metaphor of the tearaway calendar. You know, tearing off yesterday's page, it can feel so routine.
Just a simple act,
Mm.
but the deep instruction is hidden right there.
Yeah.
Yesterday is recorded, it's fixed, you can't change it. But today's page, it's crisp, it's clean, it's totally blank.
This tension between the permanent past and the possibility of renewal, it's captured so beautifully in that Philip Larkin poem, The Trees.
It is. Larkin talks about the trees coming to leaf again, but he says that this greenness is a kind of grief.
That line, it's so powerful. Why is the renewal a grief?
Because to truly renew, you have to acknowledge what was lost. You have to see the page that was torn away, and that could be painful. The trees died too. Their whole history, every drought, every hard winter, it's written down in rings of grain.
The history is permanent. You can't erase those rings.
You can't. But, and this is the critical part, despite that permanent record, despite the grief, the trees refuse to be paralyzed. They don't just sit there.
They thrust upward.
They begin afresh, afresh, afresh. And that is the fundamental job. Your history is real, but it doesn't have to define your next move. Every morning is a clean slate. George Eliot said it perfectly. It is never too late to be what you might have been.
So you don't have to wait for Monday or New Year's Day?
The clean slate is right now. But claiming it takes courage, especially when, the circumstances you're in feel difficult or just unnatural.
And that brings us to the practical challenge of adjustment. How to actually do this.
Right. And the greatest example of this, historically, has to be Marcus Aurelius. Here's this introverted, bookish philosopher who is suddenly the emperor of Rome. The sources say he felt like he was living on a lighted stage.
That phrase was also famously used by the band Rush,
In their song Limelight, yeah.
talking about the weird, unnatural pressure of fame. So you have a Roman emperor and a rock band nearly 2,000 years apart.
And they arrive at the exact same emotional place. They're both performing under these alien conditions.
They both felt that alienation, the resistance, the resentment, this feeling of, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Marcus with the court, Rush with the lack of privacy. And they both stumbled onto the same secret for dealing with it.
Rush put it into their lyrics. They said you have to put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination, the real relation, the underlying theme.
And that is the ultimate instruction for adjusting.
Yeah.
When things feel wrong or unfair, you have to actively stop fighting it. Stop resisting the reality you're in.
And instead,
Turn your energy to the fascination. Find what's interesting, what's possible, what's meaningful in the situation you actually have. That's how you find the real job you're supposed to be doing.
okay, so if the job is about clear thinking, integrity, and renewal, and the motivation comes from finding that fascination, what does pursuing greatness actually look like day to day?
It starts with a real love for the work itself. Josh Waitzkin breaks it down into 3 things.
What are they?
First, a profound love for whatever it is you're learning. Second, embracing practice right at the very edge of your competency. And third, a deep willingness to risk failure.
Practicing right at the edge where you might fall, that's where the philosophologist stays safe.
And the philosopher commits. Absolutely. Chris Dixon backs this up. He argues that if you aren't getting rejected on a daily basis, your goals just aren't ambitious enough.
If you're comfortable, you're stagnating.
You have to be willing, as Kenny Rogers said, to give up the good to go for the great.
The good is safe. The great means leaving that safety, risking it all, and committing to the practice.
Right. The philosophologist studies greatness from a distance. The philosopher risks failure daily to live it.
All of this intense work, the thinking, the integrity, the risk, it all rests on a foundation that's so simple we almost always ignore it.
Yes, the bedrock of action. And the sources are so insistent on this.
Eat healthily, sleep well, breathe deeply, enjoy life.
And this is not some, fluffy self-help checklist. This is the absolute prerequisite for any of the high-level work we've been talking about.
You can't think clearly if you're depleted.
You can't. Sleep debt completely impairs your frontal lobe. That's where judgment and intellectual honesty live. You can't see with the heart if you're exhausted and running on cortisol.
So when we talk about the job of being human, we have to start with the fact that the body and mind are one system. They're indivisible.
Caring for your biological self is the foundational job. You are the instrument. And if the instrument is broken or running on fumes, all the other principles, they become almost impossible.
So you have to do the job of maintaining the system that allows you to do all the other jobs.
That is the essential work. So let's try to wrap this all up. What is the job description we've laid out today?
Do your job. Not the job society wants for you, but the one right here, right now, the one that requires your full commitment.
And execute that job with clear thinking. Actively seek to disconfirm your own beliefs. Embody that first-rate intelligence Fitzgerald was talking about.
Do it without comparison. Let go of that tyranny and focus only on your own integrity and quality. Make the backs of the statues as beautiful as the front.
Do it with heart. Recognize that we are somos familia, and practice forgiveness, the attribute of the strong.
And finally, do it with a daily commitment to start over. Put aside the alienation, find the fascination, and remember, your past is written in the rings of grain, but the next page is always blank.
This is the philosophy of beginning again. Lived, not just studied. This is the work required to truly be what you might have been.
And so here is the final thought for you to carry forward from this deep dive. Your history is permanent, it's recorded in the rings of grain of your life, and yet every single morning you are handed a completely blank page. The trees are whispering their lesson. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. The only question left is, will you have the courage to claim that fresh start today and do the job required?
Until next time, keep digging deep.